First things first. First, I'm going to show you how to get access to an SAP system. And this is why this lesson will be called Getting Access to SAP. Here, there can be different kind of approaches. If you want to go into the technical details of an SAP system, you can have a lesson of 10 hours or more. Also, on the other hand, I've seen online that there can be different resources which are showing you how to get access to an SAP system. So one is too complex, the other approach can be too simple. What I'm going to do today is that I'm going to show you how to get access, but also from a logical point of view. So I will explain you what's the SAP system architecture so that we understand logically what kind of access are we getting and to what. So SAP, it's called also SAP R3. And the R3 comes from three-tier architecture. So three-tier architecture, it means that the architecture has three layers. So let me put here layer 1, then we have here layer 2, and we have here layer 3. So basically first layer, it's called the presentation layer. The presentation layer, and this is the layer that you are seeing on your screen. So basically any SAP user from the organization, or if you are an SAP consultant or you are trying to learn SAP, you are basically logging in into an SAP GUI, which comes from a graphical user interface. So this is all happening in the presentation layer. You are accessing the presentation layer through the SAP graphical user interface. So for example, you're running a transaction. So that's happening in the presentation layer. Then we have the second layer. This is called the application layer. So here on the application level, on the application layer, we have different ABAP programs. So basically you're running a transaction here on the presentation layer, and each transaction has behind an ABAP code. So that ABAP code is processed in the application layer. But then most of the time you are either creating new data in the database, or you are either using transactions which are querying the database for different kind of data. So then we are getting to the level 3, which is the database layer. So here on the database layer, you have all the information, right? You have all the master data, you have transactional data, you have, they say in SAP ERP only, there are more than 44,000 tables. So here in the database is stored all the information. So basically this ABAP program will query the information from the database, and it will bring it back to you in the SAP graphical user interface, right? So let's take an example. Okay, Johnny is going to be our character today, and Johnny will use the transaction VA03 because Johnny wants to display a sales order. So Johnny will insert this transaction in the SAP graphical user interface, which is happening on the presentation layer. After Johnny will hit the enter button, then SAP will go here and will search what's the ABAP program behind VA03. So SAP will find here what's the program name. So that program basically wants to display the sales order, but then this ABAP program will go down here on the database to get the information so that it will return you the sales order information, right? So after the information from the database it's found and it's read, then it's gonna come here back on the application layer, and the same ABAP program will show you here in the VA03 all the details of the sales order. So this is how the SAP architecture works.